Maya Sullivan pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship. Outside, Kepler Station grew larger with each passing second. The massive structure looked like a floating city among the stars. Its metal walls gleamed under the light of 3 different suns. This was it, the most famous military academy in the galaxy. Her stomach twisted with nerves. Maya had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that it was here, she felt small and scared. She was the first human to be accepted at Kepler Academy in over 10 years. That made her special, but it also made her a target. The transport ship docked with a loud clang. Maya grabbed her single bag and walked toward the exit. Other passengers pushed past her without looking. They were all aliens from different worlds. Some were tall and covered in scales. Others moved like liquid shadow. A few glowed with soft light from within their skin. Maya stepped onto the station platform. The air smelled strange, like metal and ozone. Hundreds of beings filled the space around her. She had never seen so many different species in one place. Their voices created a buzz of sound that hurt her ears. "Human Cadet, report to Processing Station 7. A voice announced over the speakers. Maya looked around, confused. She did not see any signs or directions. A tall reptilian being approached her. His skin was dark green with black stripes. 2 rows of sharp teeth showed when he spoke. "You look lost, little human." "I am looking for Processing Station 7, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. The alien laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "Follow the red lights, primitive. Try not to get crushed in the crowd." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she said nothing. She followed the red lights through the crowded station. Other beings stared at her as she passed. Some pointed and whispered. Others just looked disgusted. At Processing Station 7, a floating robot scanned Maya with blue light. "Cadet Maya Sullivan, human female, age 19. Report to Commander Zethkar for orientation." The commander's office was huge and cold. Commander Zethkar sat behind a desk made of black stone. He was the largest Vorthak Maya had ever seen. His scales were deep purple, almost black. Scars covered his arms and face. When he looked at Maya, his yellow eyes showed no warmth. "So," he said, his voice deep and rough, "Earth Command finally sent us another human." Maya stood straight and tried to look confident. "Yes, sir. I am honored to be here." Zethkar stood up. He was nearly 3 meters tall. "Honored? You should be grateful. Your acceptance here was a political favor, nothing more. The Council of Worlds wanted to show they were being fair to lesser species." The words hit Maya like a punch. She had scored higher than anyone else on the entrance exams. She had trained harder than any other candidate. But, to them, she was just a token. "I will prove that humans belong here," Maya said quietly. The commander laughed. "You will try. But this academy breaks strong warriors from proud species. What chance does a soft, short-lived human have?" He handed her a data pad. "Your room assignment, class schedule, and equipment list. Your quarters are in Section C, Level 12. The worst section of the academy, but suitable for your kind." Maya took the pad without saying anything. She knew arguing would only make things worse. "Orientation begins tomorrow at dawn," Zethkar continued. "Try not to embarrass yourself too badly on the first day." Dismissed. Maya left the office and followed the directions to her quarters. Section C was older than the rest of the academy. The walls were stained and the lights flickered. Her room was tiny, with just a bed, desk, and small storage unit. The bed was too short for most aliens, but the right size for her. She unpacked her few belongings and looked at her class schedule. Combat training, tactical studies, weapon systems, and survival skills. Each class would be harder than anything she had faced on Earth. A loud crash came from the hallway. Maya opened her door and saw 3 alien cadets standing over her scattered equipment. The boxes she had left outside her room were now broken open. Her clothes and personal items covered the floor. "Oops," said one of them. He was Vorthak, like the commander, but younger. His scales were bright green, and his eyes were cold. "Sorry about that, human. We did not see your primitive belongings there." The other two cadets laughed. One was tall and thin with blue skin. The other looked like he was made of living crystal. I am Veldar, the Green Vortax said. My father is General Krothtar of the Outer Fleet. And you are the charity case I have heard so much about. Maya knelt down and started gathering her things. Her hands shook with anger, but she forced herself to stay calm. I am Maya Sullivan. Maya Sullivan, Veldar repeated, making her name sound dirty. Tell me, Maya Sullivan, how long do humans live? 50 years? 60. About 80 years, Maya said, still picking up her clothes. 80 years, Veldar laughed. I am already 50 years old, and I am still considered a child by my people. We live for 300 years. How can you learn anything useful in such a short time? The blue-skinned alien spoke up. I heard humans can only see a tiny part of the light spectrum. How do you navigate in space when you are basically blind? And they have no natural armor, added the crystal being. One good hit, and they break apart. Maya stood up with her arms full of belongings. Maybe you'll find out how tough humans really are. Veldar stepped closer. His breath smelled like sulfur. Is that a threat, little human? It is a promise, Maya said, looking him straight in the eyes. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Veldar smiled, showing all his teeth. This might be more entertaining than I thought. Come on, let us leave the primitive to her cave. The three aliens walked away, laughing and talking in their own languages. Maya went back into her room and closed the door. She sat on her bed and looked around the small, cold space. Tomorrow would be her first real day at the academy. She was outnumbered, outmatched, and unwanted. Every alien here thought humans were weak and worthless. Maybe they were right. Maya shook her head. No, she could not think like that. She had come too far to give up now. She would show them what humans could do. She would make them respect her species, no matter what it took. Outside her window, the stars looked cold and distant. But somewhere among them was Earth, and everyone who believed in her. She would not let them down. The alarm screamed at 4 a.m. Maya jerked awake in her narrow bed, heart pounding. Around the academy, she could hear other cadets moving and talking. Their voices echoed through the metal corridors like thunder. She dressed quickly in the gray training uniform that had been left outside her door. It was too big in some places and too small in others. Clearly, it had not been made for human bodies. The mess hall was enormous, filled with hundreds of alien cadets. The ceiling stretched up into darkness, and floating platforms served different kinds of food for different species. Maya found the section marked for oxygen-breathing mammals and took a tray of something that looked like oatmeal but smelled like fish. She sat alone at an empty table. Around her, groups of cadets ate and talked in dozens of different languages. Nobody looked at her except to point and whisper. Maya ate her breakfast in silence, trying to ignore the stares. All first-year cadets report to Training Bay Alpha, announced a voice over the speakers. Training Bay Alpha was a massive space with equipment Maya had never seen before. Floating platforms, gravity wells, and obstacle courses that seemed to change shape as she watched. Instructor Quindal stood in the center of the room. Quindal was beautiful in an alien way. Her skin glowed with soft silver light, and her eyes were pure white with no pupils. She was Luminari, one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. When she spoke, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Today we test your basic abilities, she said. Physical strength, speed, reflexes, and coordination. The results will determine your training groups. Maya looked around at the other cadets. There were 30 of them, representing 12 different species. Most were at least half a meter taller than her. Some had 4 arms, others had wings, and a few seemed to be made of living metal. First test is strength, Quindal announced. Each cadet will lift the maximum weight possible. A machine appeared in front of each cadet. It looked like a simple bar with weights, but Maya could see energy fields around it. The weights would adjust automatically to test each being's limits. Veldar went first. He grabbed the bar and lifted. The weights increased steadily as he raised it over his head. The number on the display climbed higher and higher before stopping at 2,847 kilograms. Other cadets whispered in appreciation. One by one, the aliens displayed their incredible strength. The weakest lifted over 800 kilograms. The strongest, a being made of living rock, lifted nearly 4,000 kilograms. Then it was Maya's turn. She approached the machine and gripped the bar. The metal felt cold against her palms. She lifted with all her strength. The display showed 78 kilograms. Silence filled the training bay. Then someone started laughing. Soon the entire group was laughing, except for Instructor Quindal, who watched with no expression. Pathetic, Veldar said loudly. I can lift more with one finger. Maya's face burned with shame, but she said nothing. She stepped back and waited for the next test. Speed test, Quindal announced. A long track appeared in the floor. Sprint to the far end and back. Again, the alien showed abilities that Maya could not match. The fastest completed the course in under 3 seconds. Maya ran as hard as she could, but finished dead last at 15 seconds. The reflexes test was worse. Cadets had to dodge energy blasts from floating drones. Maya was hit more times than anyone else. Her human reflexes, fast by Earth standards, were slow motion compared to alien abilities. The final test was zero-gravity navigation. One by one, cadets entered a spherical chamber filled with floating obstacles. They had to reach the center and back without touching anything. Maya watched as the others moved through the course like fish through water. The Zephyrian cadet flowed around obstacles like liquid. Veldar used magnetic fields in his scales to sense the metal objects. The Luminari cadet seemed to know where everything was before she saw it. When Maya's turn came, she pushed off from the entrance and immediately lost control. Without gravity to orient herself, she could not tell up from down. She crashed into obstacles, bounced off walls, and spun helplessly through the space. By the time she reached the center, she was dizzy and sick. The return trip was even worse. Maya vomited inside her helmet and had to be pulled out of the chamber by emergency drones. She lay on the floor, gasping and shaking, while the other cadets stared down at her. Well, Veldar said with fake concern, that was embarrassing even by human standards. Instructor Quindal helped Maya to her feet. Report to the medical bay for evaluation. Dr. Keshran, the academy physician, was unlike any being Maya had ever seen. She looked like a person made of living crystal, with light moving through her body like blood. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. The tests show you are healthy, Dr. Keshran said, studying a floating display. But your species has significant limitations. No natural armor, weak bones, poor reflexes, limited sensory range. How did you pass the entrance examination? I studied hard, Maya said quietly. Studying will not help you in combat, the doctor replied. Perhaps you should consider a transfer to the civilian education program. Maya left the medical bay and walked slowly back to her quarters. In the hallways, other cadets stared and whispered. Word of her failures had already spread throughout the academy. Her room felt smaller and colder than before. Maya sat on her bed and looked at her schedule for tomorrow. Combat training with Instructor Quindal. Tactical studies with Professor Drathnor. Weapon systems with Captain Verthak. Each class would be another chance to fail in front of everyone. Another opportunity for the other cadets to see how weak and useless humans were. Maya picked up her data pad and opened a message from home. It was from her sister Lisa, who was training to be a communications officer on Earth. Hey Maya, how's the academy? I bet you are already showing those aliens what humans can do. Make us proud. Maya stared at the message for a long time. Lisa believed in her. Her family believed in her. Earth Command believed in her. But what if they were all wrong? What if humans really were too weak and primitive for the galaxy? A soft chime came from her door. Maya opened it to find Instructor Quindal standing in the hallway. The Luminari's silver glow seemed dimmer than before. Cadet Sullivan, she said in her musical voice. May I come in? Maya stepped aside, and the instructor entered her small room. Quindal looked around at the bare walls and simple furniture. I wanted to speak with you privately, she said. Today's results were concerning. I know I did badly, Maya said. I will try harder tomorrow. Quindal's white eyes seemed to look right through her. Trying harder will not change your species' limitations. The other cadets are already calling you the weakest in Academy history. Maya felt tears starting, but she fought them back. What are you saying? I am saying that perhaps this is not the right path for you, Quindal said gently. There is no shame in recognizing your limits. I could recommend you for transfer to a more suitable program. You want me to quit? I want you to be realistic. This academy has broken warriors from proud species. What chance does a human have? Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up at the instructor. With respect, ma'am, you will have to throw me out. I am not quitting. Quindal studied her with those strange, white eyes. Very well, but understand that tomorrow will be even harder. Combat training does not forgive weakness. After the instructor left, Maya lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would face Veldar and the others in actual combat. They would have every advantage, and she would have none. But she would not quit. No matter how many times they knocked her down, she would get back up. She was human, and humans did not give up. Maya woke up an hour before the alarm. She had been doing this for 3 weeks now, using the extra time to study and train. While other cadets slept, she reviewed combat recordings and practiced basic movements in her tiny room. The past weeks had been brutal. Every day brought new humiliations. In combat class, she was knocked down so many times that Dr. Keshran knew her by name. In weapons training, she could barely lift the standard energy rifles designed for stronger species. In tactical studies, she struggled with learning systems built for alien minds. But Maya had noticed things. Small things that others missed. She had watched Veldar fight dozens of times. The big Vorhak was strong and fast, but he always attacked the same way. 3 quick strikes with his right hand, then a grab with his left. He never changed his pattern. The Zephyrian cadet, Syrinx, was incredibly fast but had poor endurance. After 60 seconds of intense movement, he needed to rest. The crystal being, Korin, was nearly indestructible but moved slowly when turning left. Maya started keeping notes on every cadet, their strengths, weaknesses, habits, and patterns. She studied them like a scientist studies insects. Today was different. Instead of regular combat training, Instructor Quindal had announced a special exercise, a tactical simulation that would test their ability to think under pressure. You are defending a research station, Quindal explained to the class. Enemy forces outnumber you 10-1. You have limited weapons and supplies. Your goal is to hold the station for 24 hours until reinforcements arrive. The simulation room changed around them, creating a perfect copy of a space station. Maya found herself standing in the command center with 5 other cadets. Through the windows, she could see enemy ships approaching. Veldar immediately took charge. Syrinx, you guard the north corridor. Korin, take the main entrance. The rest of us will defend the central hub. It was a standard defensive strategy. Form a perimeter, concentrate firepower, hold your ground. Maya had seen it in a dozen training scenarios. Wait, Maya said. What if we try something different? Veldar turned to glare at her. Different how, human? Maya pointed to the tactical display. Look at their approach pattern. They are coming straight at us because they expect us to defend normally. What if we do not? Explain, said Korin, his crystal voice ringing like a bell. Maya's mind raced. We fake a retreat. Make them think we are running scared. Lead them into the center of the station, then collapse the outer sections and trap them. Syrinx's blue skin darkened with confusion. That is dishonest. It is smart, Maya said. Why fight fair when fighting smart works better? Veldar snarled. Vorhak warriors do not run from battle. You would not be running. You would be setting a trap. The enemy forces reached the station before they could debate further. Explosions shook the walls as boarding pods attached to the hull. Maya watched the tactical display and saw exactly what she expected. The enemy was following standard assault protocols, spreading their forces to attack multiple entrances. "Please," Maya said urgently. "Trust me on this." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Quindal's voice came over the speakers. "The exercise has begun. Choose your strategy." Surprisingly, it was Corin who spoke first. "I am willing to try the humans' plan." One by one, the others agreed. Even Veldar, though he looked like he was swallowing poison. Maya quickly explained her strategy. They would abandon the outer sections of the station, but leave behind equipment that looked important. The enemy would think they were winning easily and push deeper inside. Once most of the enemy forces were in the central hub, they would seal the blast doors and depressurize the outer sections. It almost worked perfectly. The enemy forces poured into the station, following exactly the path Maya had predicted. They found the abandoned equipment and thought the defenders were panicking. More and more enemy soldiers rushed inside, eager for an easy victory. But Maya had miscalculated one thing. When they sealed the blast doors, 3 of their own team members were cut off in the outer sections. "We have to save them," Veldar said, reaching for his weapon. "No," Maya said firmly. "If we open those doors, we lose everything." "You would sacrifice your own team?" Maya's hands shook, but her voice stayed steady. 3 lives to save billions of people on the worlds this research station protects. Yes. The simulation continued. The trapped enemy forces tried desperately to break through the blast doors, but they were designed to withstand explosions. Meanwhile, Maya's team picked them off through defensive positions she had prepared. When the 24 hours ended, they had successfully defended the station. The cost was 3 team members, but in a real battle, those 3 might have saved millions. The simulation room faded back to normal. Instructor Quindal stood before them, her silver glow brighter than usual. "Interesting strategy, Cadet Sullivan," she said. "Unconventional, but effective." Veldar crossed his arms. "It was dishonorable. We abandoned our comrades. In a simulation," Maya pointed out. "In real war, sometimes you have to make hard choices." "The human is correct," Quindal said. "War is not about honor. It is about winning with the least cost in lives and resources." That evening, Maya sat in her room reviewing the day's exercise. She had succeeded, but the victory felt strange. She had thought like a human, not like the aliens around her. She had used deception and sacrifice, concepts that many species found uncomfortable. A message appeared on her data pad. It was from Captain Jack Morrison, the human military liaison stationed at Kepler Academy. "Maya, I heard about today's exercise. Well done. Your tactical innovation is exactly what the Academy needs to see. Keep showing them what human creativity can accomplish." Maya smiled for the first time in weeks. Someone understood what she was trying to do. The next morning brought another challenge. Professor Drathnor, a massive spider-like being, announced a new type of tactical study. "Today you will learn our most advanced battle strategies," he said, his 8 eyes gleaming. "These techniques have been perfected over thousands of years by the greatest military minds in the galaxy." The professor began showing complex formations and maneuvers on a holographic display. Each strategy was elegant and precise, like a deadly dance. The alien cadets absorbed the information quickly through their neural interfaces. Maya had to learn the old-fashioned way, by watching and taking notes. But as she studied the strategies, she saw something that bothered her. They were all based on the same assumptions. That both sides would fight honorably. That certain rules would be followed. That war was a game with agreed-upon limits. She raised her hand. "Yes, Cadet Sullivan?" Professor Drathnor clicked his mandibles impatiently. "What if the enemy does not follow these rules? What if they cheat?" The professor's 8 eyes blinked in sequence. "Cheat? I do not understand. What if they attack hospitals? Or use civilians as shields? Or pretend to surrender and then attack?" A shocked silence filled the classroom. Several alien cadets looked physically ill at the suggestions. "Such actions would violate every law of civilized warfare," Professor Drathnor said stiffly. "But what if they do it anyway?" The professor had no answer. Neither did any of the other cadets. They had been trained to fight against opponents who shared their moral codes. The idea of facing an enemy who ignored all rules was beyond their understanding. But Maya understood. Humans had fought that kind of war before. They knew how to be ruthless when survival was at stake. That night, she started working on new strategies. Plans that assumed the worst about the enemy. Tactics that prepared for treachery and chaos. Methods that no honorable alien species would ever consider. She was finally beginning to understand her true advantage. It was not her strength or speed or any physical ability. It was her mind. The human ability to think outside the rules, to imagine the unthinkable, to adapt and change when others could not. Maya Sullivan was going to teach the galaxy a new way to fight. Maya checked her equipment one final time. The survival exercise was the most important test of the semester. Each cadet would be dropped alone on a hostile planet with basic gear and 3 days to reach the pickup point. Failure meant elimination from the academy. She lifted her pack and felt something wrong immediately. It was too light. Maya opened it and cursed under her breath. Half her supplies were missing. Her water purification tablets, emergency food, and most importantly, her beacon transmitter that would call for rescue if she got in serious trouble. Problem, human? Veldar stood nearby with his own pack, fully loaded and properly equipped. Maya looked around the equipment bay. Other cadets were doing final checks on their gear. Nobody was looking in her direction. You took my supplies. That is a serious accusation, Veldar said with a cold smile. Can you prove it? Maya knew she could not. Veldar was too smart to leave evidence. She also knew that reporting it would make her look weak and helpless. The instructors would see it as an excuse for failure. Maya Sullivan, report to Transport Bay 3, announced the speakers. Maya shouldered her half-empty pack and walked to the transport. Through the windows, she could see the planet below. Catherine Prime was a world of red deserts and jagged mountains. The atmosphere was breathable but thin. Temperatures dropped to freezing at night and climbed above 50 degrees during the day. The transport dropped her in the middle of nowhere. Red sand stretched to the horizon in every direction. Rocky hills rose like broken teeth in the distance. Maya checked her compass and started walking toward the pickup point, 80 kilometers away. By noon, the heat was brutal. Maya's water supply, already reduced by Veldar's sabotage, ran dangerously low. She rationed herself to tiny sips, but knew it would not last the full 3 days. That evening, as the sun set and the temperature plummeted, Maya faced another problem. Without her missing supplies, she had no way to make shelter or fire. She found a shallow cave in the rocks and huddled inside, shivering in the dark. The second day was worse. Maya's water ran out completely by mid-morning. The sun seemed bigger and more vicious than before. Her lips cracked and her tongue felt like leather. Without food, her energy faded quickly. But Maya had spent years studying human survival techniques. Her species had lived through ice ages and droughts, deserts and frozen wastelands. Humans were survivors by nature. She found a depression in the rocks where morning dew might collect. It gave her a few precious drops of moisture. She caught insects and ate them raw, forcing down the bitter taste. She knew which plants on this type of planet might hold water in their roots. By the end of the second day, Maya had found a small underground spring. The water tasted terrible and made her sick, but it kept her alive. She also discovered that certain rocks on this planet contained metals that could create sparks when struck together. Soon she had a small fire. The third day brought a sandstorm. Maya wrapped herself in her torn uniform and pressed against the rocks. Sand filled her eyes, nose, and mouth. The wind howled like a living thing. But she survived. When the storm passed, Maya saw something that changed everything. The pickup point was not where her map said it should be. Either the coordinates were wrong, or the landmarks had shifted in the storm. Most cadets would panic. They would activate their emergency beacons and wait for rescue. But Maya did not have a beacon, thanks to Veldar's sabotage. She climbed to the highest hill she could find and studied the landscape. There, far to the east, she saw the glint of metal. The pickup point. But it was at least 20 kilometers further than expected, and she had to reach it before sunset or be marked as failed. Maya ran. She ran despite her exhaustion and dehydration. She ran through the burning sand and jagged rocks. She ran because giving up was not in human nature. She reached the pickup point as the rescue shuttle was preparing to leave. Maya collapsed on the landing pad, bloody and exhausted, but victorious. Dr. Keshran examined her in the medical bay. The crystal doctor's light pulsed with confusion as she studied the readings. "This is remarkable," she said. "According to your biological markers, you should not have survived the second day. Your species' baseline requirements for water and food are clearly documented." Maya tried to speak, but only managed to croak. Dr. Keshran gave her water and waited for her voice to return. "Humans adapt," Maya finally said, "when we have to. But these changes to your physiology should be impossible," Dr. Keshran continued. "Your muscle density has increased. Your bone structure has strengthened. Your metabolic efficiency has improved by 30%. Maya did not understand all the medical terms, but she got the basic idea. The stress and hardship had made her stronger, not weaker. "I need to study this further," the doctor said. "With your permission, I would like to run additional tests." Maya agreed. Over the next week, as she recovered from the survival exercise, Dr. Keshran discovered things that amazed the medical staff. Maya's body had changed at the cellular level. Her human DNA contained adaptation mechanisms that were not present in other species. Word of the discovery spread through the academy. Instructors who had ignored Maya before began paying attention. Professor Drathnor asked her to stay after tactical studies. "Your performance on Catherine Prime was unusual," he said, his 8 eyes studying her carefully. "How did you know to look for water in rock crevices?" "Humans have survived in deserts before," Maya explained. "We remember the techniques." "But you had no training specific to that planet type." "No, but I had human instincts." The professor clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Show me these survival techniques in detail." Maya spent the next hour explaining human survival methods. How to find water in seemingly dry places. How to eat insects and plants safely. How to make fire without modern tools. How to navigate by stars and landscape features. Professor Drathnor took notes on everything. "These techniques could be valuable for our forces," he admitted. "Most species rely too heavily on technology for survival." That evening, Maya found a message waiting in her room. It was from Instructor Quindal. "Cadet Sullivan, report to my office tomorrow at 0800 hours. Maya's stomach clenched. Had she done something wrong? Was she finally being expelled? The next morning, she stood at attention in Quindal's office. The luminary instructor's silver glow seemed brighter than usual. "Sit down, Maya," Quindal said, using her first name for the first time. Maya sat carefully on the edge of the chair. "I owe you an apology," Quindal continued. "I judged your species by the wrong standards. I expected you to succeed like us, instead of succeeding like humans." Maya was not sure what to say. "Your survival on Catherine Prime has forced us to reconsider our training methods," Quindal explained. "We have been preparing cadets to fight wars like the ones we have always fought. Civilized conflicts between honorable opponents with similar capabilities. But real war is not always like that," Maya said quietly. "Exactly. And humans, it seems, understand this better than we do." Quindal stood and walked to the window overlooking the training bays. "I am recommending you for advanced tactical training. Your unconventional thinking could be valuable to the fleet." Maya felt a surge of hope. "Thank you, ma'am." "Do not thank me yet," Quindal warned. "Advanced training means harder challenges. And there are those at this academy who still see you as a threat to their traditions." As if summoned by her words, Veldar appeared in the doorway. His green scales were darker than usual, a sign of anger among his people. "Instructor Quindal," he said formally, "I need to speak with you about the human." "What about her?" Veldar's yellow eyes fixed on Maya. "She cheated on the survival exercise. No being could survive 3 days on Catherine Prime with the supplies she had." "Are you accusing me of providing her with additional equipment?" Quindel asked dangerously. I am saying that humans are known liars and cheaters. She must have hidden supplies somewhere on the planet. Maya stood up slowly. The only cheating that happened was when you stole half my equipment before the drop. Veldar's scales flared with color. Prove it. I do not need to prove it, Maya said calmly. I survived without the equipment you took. That proves I am stronger than you thought. For a moment, Veldar looked like he might attack her. Then Instructor Quindel stepped between them. This conversation is over, she said firmly. Cadet Veldar, return to your quarters. Cadet Sullivan, remain here. After Veldar left, Quindel turned back to Maya. He will not forgive this humiliation easily. I know. Are you prepared for what comes next? Maya thought about her sister Lisa, about Earth, about all the humans who were counting on her to succeed. Yes, ma'am. I am ready. Captain Jack Morrison arrived at Kepler Academy on a bright Tuesday morning. Maya watched from her classroom window as the human transport ship docked. It had been 4 months since her survival on Catherine Prime, and everything had changed. Maya was no longer the weakest cadet at the academy. Her modified training equipment had been studied and copied. Her survival techniques were now part of the standard curriculum. Most importantly, other cadets had started asking for her help with tactical problems. Captain Morrison was tall and broad-shouldered, with graying hair and calm blue eyes. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth Command with 3 gold stripes on his sleeves. When he spoke to the assembled cadets, his voice carried the authority of someone who had fought real battles. I am here to evaluate the Academy's training programs, he announced. Over the next week, I will observe classes and speak with instructors and cadets. Maya felt nervous and excited at the same time. This was her chance to show a fellow human what she had accomplished. Captain Morrison attended her tactical studies class that afternoon. Professor Drathnor was presenting a complex battle scenario involving multiple star systems and thousands of ships. The other cadets absorbed the information through their neural links, processing vast amounts of data in seconds. Maya had to rely on her notebook and her brain. She drew diagrams, made calculations, and thought through the problem step by step. When Professor Drathnor asked for solutions, the alien cadets presented detailed plans based on historical precedents and mathematical models. Maya raised her hand. Professor, may I suggest something different? The spider-like alien's 8 eyes focused on her. Go ahead, Cadet Sullivan. Maya stood and walked to the holographic display. Everyone is assuming this will be a traditional fleet battle. But what if we do not fight their main force at all? She manipulated the display to show her idea. Look at their supply lines. 3 cargo convoys have to pass through the Deneb system to reach their fleet. If we attack the convoys instead of the main force, we can starve them out without a single major battle. Veldar spoke up from the back of the room. That is not honorable combat. Warriors should face warriors, not attack supply ships. But it would work, said Corin, the crystal being. Their fleet would be forced to retreat or starve. Captain Morrison made a note on his data pad, but said nothing. Professor Drathnor studied Maya's tactical display. Interesting approach. Unconventional, but strategically sound. After class, Captain Morrison approached Maya in the hallway. Walk with me, Cadet. They strolled through the academy corridors as Morrison asked about her training and experiences. Maya told him about her struggles, her discoveries, and her growing understanding of human advantages in warfare. You have caused quite a stir here, Morrison said. I have received reports from Earth Command about your innovations. They are very interested in your tactical methods. Really? Maya felt a surge of pride. Yes. But I have also heard about the resistance you face from other cadets. Morrison's expression grew serious. How are you handling that? Maya thought about Veldar and his friends, who continued to make her life difficult whenever possible. I focus on proving them wrong. Morrison nodded approvingly. Good attitude. But be careful. Success can make enemies as well as friends. That evening, Maya was studying in the library when Syrinx, the blue-skinned Zephyrian, approached her table. He looked nervous, his skin shifting between pale blue and deeper purple. Maya, he said quietly, may I ask you something? Maya looked up from her tactical manuals. Of course. Syrinx sat down across from her. In your species' history, have you ever fought wars against opponents much stronger than yourselves? Many times, Maya replied. Why do you ask? My people are facing a crisis, Syrinx explained. A hostile species called the Kreth have invaded our outer colonies. They are larger and stronger than us, with better weapons and more ships. Our military leaders do not know how to fight them. Maya leaned forward, interested. Tell me about the Kreth. Syrinx described a warrior race that relied on brute force and superior technology. They attacked with massive fleets and overwhelming firepower. Traditional Zephyrian tactics, based on speed and precision, were not working against such raw power. Have you tried guerrilla warfare? Maya asked. I do not know that term. Maya spent the next hour explaining human military history. She told Syrinx about small forces defeating larger armies through hit-and-run tactics, sabotage, and turning the enemy's strengths against them. Word of their conversation spread. Soon other cadets were coming to Maya with questions about asymmetric warfare, unconventional tactics, and survival techniques. She found herself teaching informal classes in her spare time. Captain Morrison observed one of these sessions. Maya was explaining how humans had defeated larger armies by attacking supply lines, avoiding direct confrontation, and using the terrain to their advantage. The key is to make the enemy fight your kind of war, not theirs, Maya explained to a group of 6 alien cadets. If they're stronger, do not fight them head-on. If they are faster, slow them down. If they have better weapons, take away their advantage. After the session, Morrison pulled Maya aside. You are becoming quite the teacher. I am just sharing what I have learned. What you have learned is changing how these cadets think about war, Morrison said. That is no small thing. The next day brought the Academy's most challenging exercise yet. A massive war simulation involving all senior cadets. They would be divided into 2 fleets and fight a mock battle using real ships with disabled weapons. Maya found herself assigned to Blue Fleet, commanded by Veldar. Their opponents in Red Fleet had more ships and better equipment. According to the computer simulations, Blue Fleet had only a 12% chance of victory. The challenge came 3 days after the fleet simulation. Maya was eating breakfast alone, as usual, when Veldar approached her table. His green scales were darker than normal, a sign of anger among his people. Behind him stood 6 other Vorthap cadets, their expressions grim. Human, Veldar said loudly, making sure everyone in the mess hall could hear. I challenge you to single combat under the ancient laws of my people. Conversations stopped throughout the enormous room. Hundreds of alien cadets turned to stare. Maya felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice calm. Why? You have brought dishonor to my name and my tactics, Veldar snarled. Your cowardly strategies make warriors look weak. I will restore proper thinking by defeating you in honest combat. Maya understood what was really happening. Veldar's pride had been wounded by Admiral Kortak's criticism. He needed to prove that traditional methods were superior to human innovation. What better way than beating a human in front of the entire academy? What are the terms? Maya asked. One of the other Vorthak cadets, Zektar, stepped forward. Ancient combat law. No weapons, no armor, no outside interference. Fight until one surrenders or cannot continue. Maya looked around the mess hall. Every alien was watching her, waiting to see what she would do. If she refused the challenge, she would look like a coward. Her reputation and everything she had built would be destroyed. I accept, she said quietly. Veldar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Excellent. The combat will take place tonight in the main arena. All cadets are invited to witness proper order being restored. Word of the challenge spread through the academy like wildfire. By evening, the main arena was packed with alien spectators. Maya had never seen so many different species in one place. Vorthak, Zephyrian, Luminari, Nexari, and dozens of others filled the floating platforms around the combat floor. Maya stood in the preparation room, trying to calm her nerves. She had spent the afternoon reviewing every recording of Vorthak combat she could find. Veldar was bigger, stronger, faster, and had natural advantages that no amount of training could overcome. Dr. Keshran entered the room, her crystal body glowing with concern. Maya, you do not have to do this. Ancient combat law allows withdrawal if both parties agree. Veldar will never agree to that, Maya replied. And even if he did, I would look weak. Better to look weak than to be seriously injured, the doctor said. Vorthak are incredibly strong. Their scales provide natural armor. Their claws can cut through metal. Maya nodded. She knew all of this already. Doctor, can you tell me something about Vorthak physiology? Dr. Keshran looked puzzled. What do you need to know? Their weaknesses. Every species has them. The crystal doctor was quiet for a moment. Their joints are flexible, but not as protected as the rest of their body. They rely heavily on their dominant hand, and their balance is designed for their homeworld's gravity, which is 30% higher than standard. Maya filed this information away. It was not much, but it might help. Captain Morrison appeared in the doorway. Maya, I heard about the challenge. Are you sure about this? I have to do it, Maya said. If I back down now, everything I have accomplished here will be worthless. Morrison nodded grimly. Then fight smart, not hard. Use every advantage you can find. The arena floor was a circle 30 meters across, surrounded by energy barriers to protect the spectators. Maya entered from one side, while Veldar entered from the other. The Vorthak looked enormous under the bright lights, his muscles rippling beneath his dark green scales. Admiral Kortak's voice boomed across the arena. This combat is fought under ancient Vorthak law. No weapons, no armor, no assistance. The battle ends when one fighter surrenders or cannot continue. Begin. Veldar charged immediately, just as Maya had expected. Vorthak preferred direct attacks and overwhelming force. She rolled to the side, avoiding his rush, and felt the wind from his claws as they passed inches from her head. The crowd roared approval at Veldar's aggressive start. Maya circled away from him, staying light on her feet. She could not match his strength, so she had to rely on speed and strategy. Veldar attacked again, this time with a series of powerful swipes aimed at Maya's head and chest. She ducked under the first two and deflected the third, feeling the impact jar her entire arm. His strength was incredible. Stand and fight, coward, Veldar shouted. Maya did not respond. She was watching his patterns, just like she had studied the recordings. 3 strikes with the right hand, grab with the left, exactly as she had predicted. He was strong and fast, but he was also predictable. For the first 10 minutes, Maya did nothing but avoid his attacks. The crowd grew restless, shouting for action. Veldar became frustrated, his attacks wilder and less controlled. Then Maya saw her chance. Veldar lunged forward with another powerful right-hand strike. Instead of dodging away, Maya stepped inside his reach and struck at his wrist joint, exactly where Dr. Keshran had said the scales were thinner. Veldar roared in pain and surprise. For the first time in the fight, he had been hurt. Maya did not give him time to recover. She circled to his weak side and struck again, this time at his knee joint. Veldar stumbled, his balance disrupted by the lower gravity that Dr. Keshran had mentioned. The crowd fell silent. Nobody had expected the small human to actually hurt the powerful Vorthak. Veldar's yellow eyes blazed with fury. He abandoned all technique and charged like a wild animal. Maya waited until the last second, then dropped to the ground and swept his legs. Already off balance, Veldar crashed to the arena floor. Maya was on him instantly, using her flexibility to wrap around his back and apply pressure to his neck. It was a technique from human martial arts, something no Vorthak would have encountered before. Veldar thrashed and rolled, trying to dislodge her. His strength was overwhelming, but Maya held on with desperate determination. She adjusted her grip, finding the pressure points that would cut off blood flow to his brain. The arena was completely silent now. Everyone watched in shock as the human slowly strangled the mighty Vorthak warrior. Veldar's struggles grew weaker. His breathing became labored. Maya felt his body going limp beneath her. "Surrender," she whispered in his ear. For a moment, Veldar did not respond. Then, barely audible, he spoke the ritual words. "I yield." Maya released him immediately and rolled away. Veldar lay on the arena floor, gasping for breath, defeated. Admiral Kortak's voice echoed through the stunned silence. The human is victorious. The arena erupted in chaos. Some aliens cheered while others sat in shocked disbelief. A human had just defeated one of the strongest Vorthak cadets in single combat. Maya stood in the center of the arena, exhausted and shaking. She had won, but she could hardly believe it herself. Veldar slowly got to his feet. His scales were pale with shock and humiliation. He looked at Maya for a long moment, then did something that surprised everyone. He bowed deeply, showing the respect that Vorthak tradition demanded for a victorious opponent. "I was wrong about your people," he said quietly. "Forgive me." Maya bowed in return. "There is nothing to forgive. You fought with honor." Dr. Keshran rushed onto the arena floor to check both fighters for injuries. Maya had several deep bruises where Veldar's claws had grazed her, but nothing serious. Veldar was mostly just exhausted and embarrassed. As they left the arena, Captain Morrison appeared at Maya's side. "Outstanding work," he said with a proud smile. "You just proved something very important tonight." "What's that?" "That humans do not win through superior strength or speed or natural weapons. We win because we think differently. We adapt. We find solutions that others never consider." Maya nodded, still trying to process what had happened. She had entered the academy as a despised outsider. Now she had defeated one of their strongest warriors in fair combat. But more importantly, she had done it as a human. She had not tried to fight like a Vorthak or any other alien species. She had fought like herself, using her own advantages and strategies. That night, as Maya lay in her small room recovering from the battle, she received dozens of messages from other cadets. Some congratulated her victory. Others asked to train with her. A few from species she had never even spoken to wanted to learn human fighting techniques. Everything was changing. The academy that had once tried to humiliate her was now eager to learn from her. Maya smiled as she drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight she was exactly where she belonged. The morning after her victory over Veldar, Maya woke to find her world completely changed. Outside her door sat a pile of gifts from alien cadets across the academy. Crystalline sculptures from the Nexari, scented oils from the Zephyrians, and even a ceremonial blade from the Vorthak Honor Guard. More importantly, there was an official message on her data pad. "Cadet Sullivan, report to Admiral Kortak's office at 0800 hours. Maya dressed carefully in her best uniform and made her way to the Admiral's office. The massive Vorthak commander stood behind his desk, his purple scales gleaming in the morning light. Behind him stood Captain Morrison and Instructor Quindell. "Cadet Sullivan," Admiral Kortak rumbled, "your victory last night has forced me to reconsider many assumptions about human capabilities." Maya stood at attention. "Thank you, sir. I am officially apologizing for my initial assessment of your species," the Admiral continued. "It was based on incomplete information and personal prejudice. I was wrong." Maya felt a surge of emotion but kept her expression neutral. "I appreciate that, sir." Admiral Kortak picked up a data pad from his desk. "More importantly, your innovations have revolutionized our training methods. Your survival techniques are now required study for all cadets. Your tactical strategies have been incorporated into advanced combat courses. Your equipment modifications have been adopted fleet-wide." Captain Morrison stepped forward. "Maya, your work here has attracted attention all the way to Earth Command and the Galactic Council. They want to study your methods and expand human participation in military programs. But first," Admiral Kortak said, "we have a more immediate crisis. A colony in the Rigel system is under attack. Standard fleet response has failed. The Defense Council is requesting unconventional solutions." A holographic display activated, showing a star system with multiple planets. One world flashed red, indicating distress. "The colony of New Haven is being attacked by raiders," Instructor Quindell explained. "The enemy has superior numbers and technology. Traditional tactics have proven ineffective." Maya studied the display. "What kind of raiders?" "The Kron Syndicate," Admiral Kortak replied. pirates and mercenaries with no honor codes. They use civilians as shields and attack non-military targets. Maya felt a chill of recognition. These were exactly the kind of enemies that alien military doctrine was not designed to fight. Opponents who ignored all rules and fought without honor. The defending fleet commander has requested assistance, Morrison added. Specifically, he asked for human tactical expertise. Admiral Kortak looked directly at Maya. I am promoting you to senior cadet and assigning you as tactical advisor for this mission. You will work with the fleet commanders to develop a response plan. Maya's mind raced. This was a real mission with real lives at stake. Sir, I am honored, but I am still just a cadet. You are a cadet who has proven that conventional thinking fails against unconventional enemies, the Admiral replied. The fleet needs your perspective. The next 6 hours were the most intense of Maya's life. She worked with senior officers from multiple species, analyzing the situation at New Haven Colony. The more she learned, the worse it looked. The Kron Syndicate had taken over the colony's capital city and were holding 50,000 civilians hostage. Their ships formed a defensive perimeter around the planet, using the civilian population as a shield against orbital bombardment. Any direct attack would result in massive civilian casualties. The defending fleet commander, Admiral Vex Rand of the Nexary, had tried multiple approaches. Negotiations had failed. Precision strikes were impossible due to the human shields. A ground assault would take too long and cost too many lives. We are trapped by our own moral codes, Admiral Vex Rand said during a communication link. His crystalline face showed deep frustration. They know we will not sacrifice innocence to reach them. Maya studied the tactical displays, while the alien officers debated options. The Kron had positioned themselves perfectly to exploit their enemies' reluctance to harm civilians. It was exactly the kind of ruthless strategy that honorable species found difficult to counter. But Maya had grown up learning about human conflicts where similar tactics had been used. She understood how to fight enemies who hid behind innocence and ignored all rules of warfare. Admiral, Maya said, interrupting the discussion. What if we do not attack the planet at all? The officers turned to look at her. Admiral Vex Rand's crystal face reflected confusion. Explain, young human. Maya manipulated the holographic display. The Kron Syndicate is not just holding the colony. They are using it as their base while they raid other systems. Look at these shipping routes. She highlighted the trade lanes around Rigel. 3 major commercial routes pass through this system. The Kron are using New Haven as a staging point to attack merchant ships. Admiral Kortak studied her analysis. Continue. If we cannot attack them directly, we attack their ability to operate, Maya explained. Cut off their supplies, their escape routes, their reinforcements. Make holding the colony cost more than they can afford. She showed her strategy on the display. We mine the shipping lanes to stop their raids. We intercept their supply convoys. We block their communication arrays. And we broadcast the truth about their operations to every system in the sector. Admiral Vex Rand's crystal body brightened with interest. Make them pariahs instead of martyrs.
Exactly.
Right now, they look like successful pirates. If we expose their methods and cut off their profits, other criminal groups will stop supporting them. The plan was unlike anything the aliens had considered. Instead of a quick military victory, it called for a patient siege that would slowly strangle the enemy's ability to function. How long would this take? Asked Captain Morrison. Maya ran calculations on her data pad. 6 to 8 weeks to completely isolate them. But they will start feeling pressure within days. Admiral Kortak's scales darkened with thought. It is not a traditional solution. Traditional solutions have not worked, Maya pointed out. The Kron count on their enemies fighting honorably. If we fight smart instead of honorably, we can win without massive casualties. The room fell silent as the officers considered her proposal. Finally, Admiral Kortak spoke. Implement the human strategy. All fleet units will coordinate through Senior Cadet Sullivan's tactical recommendations. Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Lives depended on her unconventional thinking. The operation began immediately. Fleet units spread throughout the Rigel system, setting up interdiction fields and sensor networks. Maya coordinated from the flagship, working 18-hour days to manage the complex operation. Within a week, the strategy was working. Kron supply ships found the trade routes blocked. Their raiding parties encountered prepared defenses instead of surprised merchants. Most importantly, word of their tactics spread throughout the criminal underworld, turning potential allies against them. Maya received reports from across the sector. Criminal organizations that had been supporting the Kron began withdrawing their assistance. Independent raiders stopped using Rigel as a safe haven. The syndicate found itself increasingly isolated. The Kron are requesting negotiations, Admiral Vexran reported during a strategy meeting. They claim they want to discuss terms for releasing the hostages. Maya shook her head. They want to buy time while they figure out an escape plan. Keep the pressure on. She was right. Intelligence reports showed the Kron trying desperately to find allies and escape routes. But Maya's network had closed every option. They were trapped on New Haven with dwindling supplies and growing desperation. 3 weeks into the operation, the Kron made a critical mistake. Frustrated by their isolation, they launched a raid against a nearby civilian station, hoping to capture supplies and hostages. Maya had anticipated this move. When the Kron ships left New Haven's orbit, they found the trade route blocked by a full fleet task force. The raiders were captured without firing a shot. With their mobile forces gone, the Kron position on New Haven became hopeless. They no longer had the ships to threaten orbital bombardment or the supplies to maintain a long siege. They are offering to surrender, Admiral Vexran announced. In exchange for safe passage off-world, Maya looked at the tactical display showing 50,000 civilian hostages still under Kron control. No deals. They surrender unconditionally, or they stay trapped until they starve. It took 2 more days. The Kron syndicate finally surrendered completely, releasing all hostages and turning over their weapons. The colony was liberated without a single civilian casualty. Maya stood on the bridge of the flagship as Admiral Vexran addressed the fleet. This victory belongs to Senior Cadet Sullivan and her revolutionary approach to asymmetric warfare. She has shown us that sometimes the best way to win a war is to refuse to fight it on the enemy's terms. Captain Morrison appeared at Maya's side. "Congratulations," he said with a proud smile. Earth Command is very impressed. Maya looked out at the stars, feeling exhausted but satisfied. She had proven that human thinking could solve problems that traditional military doctrine could not handle. But more importantly, she had saved lives by refusing to accept that civilian casualties were unavoidable. Sometimes the most human thing to do was to find a way that nobody else had considered. "What happens now?" she asked Morrison. "Now you finish your training," he replied. "But I suspect that training will be very different from here on out." Maya nodded. She was no longer the despised outsider trying to prove herself worthy. She was a tactical innovator whose methods were reshaping how the galaxy thought about warfare. The academy that had tried to humiliate her was now learning from her. And this was only the beginning. Graduation day at Kepler Academy dawned bright and clear. Maya stood with her class on the great platform overlooking the academy's central plaza. Around her were the cadets she had started with 8 months ago, but everything had changed since then. Veldar stood to her right, wearing the silver cord of an honor graduate. The big Vorthak had become one of her closest friends after their combat trial, helping to bridge the gap between human and alien military thinking. To her left stood Syrinx, whose people had successfully used Maya's guerrilla tactics to defeat the Kreth invasion of their colonies. Admiral Kortak took the podium, his massive purple form impressive even by Vorthak standards. "Today we graduate the most remarkable class in Academy history," he began. "Not because of their individual achievements, but because they have learned to think beyond the limitations of their own species." Maya felt a surge of pride as she looked out at the thousands of beings gathered for the ceremony. Representatives from dozens of worlds had come to witness the graduation, including her own family. In the front row sat her sister Lisa, now wearing the uniform of a communications officer. Next to her were their parents, who had traveled from Earth to see Maya receive her commission. Captain Morrison sat with the Earth delegation, beaming with pride. "This class has revolutionized our understanding of military science," Admiral Kortak continued. They have proven that diversity of thought is our greatest weapon against any enemy. The Admiral's eyes found Maya in the formation. Senior Cadet Sullivan, front and center. Maya marched forward and stood at attention before the platform. Her heart pounded as Admiral Kortak descended the steps to face her. Maya Sullivan, he said, his deep voice carrying across the plaza, you came to this academy as an outsider. You were underestimated, dismissed, and in some cases actively opposed. But you persevered. The Admiral held up a golden insignia. Your tactical innovations have been studied and adopted throughout the Galactic Defense Force. Your survival techniques are now standard training for all personnel. Your strategic thinking has saved thousands of lives. Maya felt tears threatening but fought them back. This moment was everything she had dreamed of and more. It is my honor to present you with the Academy's highest decoration, Admiral Kortak announced. The Star of Innovation, awarded for contributions that fundamentally advance military science. The crowd erupted in applause as the Admiral pinned the golden star to Maya's uniform. She was the first cadet in Academy history to receive the award, and certainly the first human. But there was more. Admiral Kortak held up a second insignia, this one bearing the silver bars of a lieutenant. By order of the Galactic Defense Council, he continued, you are hereby commissioned as a lieutenant in the Unified Fleet, with immediate assignment to the Starship Vanguard as Chief Tactical Officer. Maya's breath caught. Chief Tactical Officer was a position usually given to officers with years of experience. To receive it straight from graduation was unprecedented. She accepted the commission bars with steady hands, though inside, she was shaking with excitement and nervousness. Thank you, sir, she managed to say. Thank you, Lieutenant, Admiral Kortak replied with a rare smile. The galaxy is a safer place because of your service. After the ceremony, Maya was surrounded by well-wishers and reporters. Species she had never heard of wanted to interview the human who had changed military thinking. Defense contractors sought to license her equipment modifications. Academic institutions offered research positions. But the conversation that mattered most came when Veldar approached her family. Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, the big Vorhak said formally, I owe you an apology. Maya's father looked puzzled. For what? I treated your daughter badly when she first arrived, Veldar explained. I thought humans were weak and primitive. I was wrong about everything. Maya's mother smiled warmly. Maya told us about you. She said you became one of her best friends here. She taught me that strength comes in many forms, Veldar replied. Your daughter is the strongest warrior I have ever met, not because of her physical power, but because of her mind and spirit. Lisa hugged her sister tightly. I am so proud of you, she whispered. You did it. You really did it. Maya hugged her back. This is just the beginning. Captain Morrison joined them, carrying a data pad filled with messages. Maya, you might want to see this, he said. Communication requests from across the galaxy. Maya scrolled through the list with growing amazement. Military academies from a dozen worlds wanted to exchange cadets with Earth. Alien species that had never contacted humanity before were requesting diplomatic meetings. The Zephyrian High Command was offering formal alliance agreements. Your success here has opened doors that have been closed for centuries, Morrison explained. Earth is being taken seriously as a military and diplomatic power for the first time. But the message that touched Maya most came from an unexpected source. Dr. Keshran had sent a medical report showing remarkable changes in alien cadets who had trained with human methods. Enhanced adaptability, improved problem-solving capabilities, increased stress resistance, Maya read aloud. Human training techniques appear to unlock latent potential in other species. She looked up at Morrison. We are not just teaching them tactics. We are teaching them to think like humans. And they are becoming stronger for it, Morrison agreed. That evening, Maya stood on the observation deck of the transport ship that would take her to her new assignment. Through the viewport, she could see the Vanguard waiting at the docking station. The heavy cruiser was one of the most advanced ships in the fleet, equipped with weapons.